And boom. Perfect. I think everything should be fine there. All right. So this live stream is how to make six-figure commissions in 2023. This is presented by Blue University. I'm the financial trustee. My name is Caleb Loy, and I'm the financial trustee for Blue Shire Trust and a couple small like private banks and other trusts, things like that. And my job is to basically do bank instrument work for private investors and for private funds and put together special deals. And I'm going to show you a little bit about that world. And it's pretty vast. So it's never like just one way or one thing. So it should apply to a lot of people really easily. So my goal through this webinar is to show you what the largest transactions in the world are and show you how to be involved in these huge deals without having to have a lot of money. There are market spaces where you need to have money to make money. That's no doubt. But with this, there are ways of getting it done where you don't need to have the funds. You can actually arbitrage the value and get it done that way. And that's what I'm gonna show you that. The next one is to show you how to collect large commissions from nearly anywhere in the world. There's obviously places where you can't do business if there's like sanctions right now. There's places that you can't do business with or something like that. But how do you do large transactions? How was the Twitter deal closed and how were those people paid? They probably weren't all in the same room. The attorney group is somewhere. They made about 2.5% off that deal, by the way. That's a huge commission. And that's just one thing, but also how to not get circumvented and prepare yourself so that way you're protected. That's another huge thing that a lot of people have to deal with. If you stay into the end, you're going to get a copy of the Asset Hero Deluxe. It's going to show you six-figure commissions in 8 different ways. Lots of different options out there, like I was saying. If it's not like just like real estate, there's a lot to real estate, and you can focus on different segments in real estate also. And so this is a little bit more broad, which is going to be very helpful for everyone. This shows you it in 8 different ways. They're all different transactions that I've been involved with, and there's stories that are involved with it, step by steps, and also some commission examples of what that looks like. What makes this different is Blue Shire Trust is an actual thing. I've been doing this and I thought this was a mistake for over 2 decades. It's actually 22 years. So I thought that I said it can't be that long. My first deal I did, I was 17. It was a sand pit deal for a construction company. And that kind of just went off from there because I understood like value plus the instrument that's being used equals the outcome. And it's kind of that simple. I'm ICC certified trade finance, which means that I know how to do trade between different countries. Sometimes it can get a little tricky. And then I'm a SWIFT specialist, which means I understand the banking procedures it needs to have the banks communicate with each other, which is real important too. I'm going to show you some tricks for that, by the way. I've worked in the North Americas, a lot of in-ground assets, a lot of different papers. Same thing with South America, mostly physical assets in South America. Their paper is a little bit different. Africa is oil and gold primarily. Europe, lots of paper and some gold there too. And then Israel, UAE, gold, oil, and technology. Like if you have a refinery for a gold refinery, like in a place like UAE, you can there's refineries like Empress where you can send them the doré and they'll pay you top dollar for it. And so there's really cool ways to arbitrage that. In Asia, mostly paper. Recently, it's been a little funky, but Australia also some cryptocurrency too. We work with a lot of different banking institutions and private companies, and everybody kind of take a look at this just for a second. Everybody kind of knows Barclays on the top, starting from the top left down, Citigroup, Deutsche, Fifth Third's kind of popular, Goldman, everybody knows that one, HSBC in the middle top, everybody knows that one, JP Morgan, Merrill Lynch. There's some popular ones in here, right? But they're not all popular. There are names on here, I'm sure all of you that are on this webinar, all 32 of you, there's all of you that have not seen all of these for sure. And my point is that the banks that are ostracized right now and they're being hung out to the masses, those guys are for the public eyes to see. So HSBC is failing and this bank's failing and that bank's failing. And yeah, they're failing because they did some bad stuff. But there are some serious private funds outside of these that the banks don't get to touch. The private banks just get to touch M1, M2 funds, which is like credit lines, credit cards, those types of things. It's just stacked credit. So of course they're going to fall over time. But the private industry and the private funds that back those things is ginormous. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you, by the way, if you have been inundated with a bunch of fear mongering and all that type of thing, That's fine. There are a lot of valid points to what's happening. However, there is still food that shows up at restaurants. There's still food that shows up at your grocery store. Your gas station still has gas, and there might be some supply chains that get interrupted. But for the most part, everything for the out of 100% majority is still going, and these transactions have to happen. Have to. I've done a lot of things right, and I've done a lot of things wrong. And after working with these assets for 20 years, I found out that you need to know how to move large amounts of money internationally without any issues. There's a lot of folks that have paper in places like Japan. There were investors like in China that we could work with back in the day, a lot of in Europe, some in Canada. And so you need to be able to know how to transfer that value. And it is, in essence, it's like a title to a house. You transfer that title from one place to another so that way it can get to work. The next is you need to know that's a typo. You need to know how to secure your profit and receive your payment. So without getting circumvented. And how do you receive a commission of 5 million or 10 million or however many millions it was if you did a multi-billion dollar deal? They can get pretty large. How do you do that without having any issues? Because the normal bank accounts that you start up are insured for normally $250,000. So what if you have way more than that? Well, those are some things you need to figure out and understand, and they're really, really simple. And the next one is you need to spend time on deals that'll perform and avoid hot air. And this is something that I think a lot of people deal with in this market space. And creating a pre-qualification process so that way you don't spend time with people that are wasting your time is really important. And so I'm going to show you some tricks with that one also. Many people figure this out the long way, the hard way. They get burnt out, they run out of money, and that's really tough. Today, you can get it the easy way. I'm going to show you some tricks. The hard way, working without capital. Now, if you need to send like a large file, sometimes you have like compliance or something like that. You can still get things done without capital. This is the difficult way. But if you're not working with the actual cash, it's a little bit hard. Working without being able to prove your file. You get a file in the email, you get something that was sent to you. Oh, I know the guy who's next to the signatory, or you hear the mandate a lot. Mandate, that word doesn't exist in America, by the way. So if you were to go to court and the judge said, "Hey, who's the mandate?" and he would say, "What?" or he would say, "What's a mandate?" So it wouldn't go anywhere. So that's not a good thing. Anyway, so you need to be able to prove your file. So if somebody brings you a file, you need to say, "Okay, let's prove it." And if they can't, then I would avoid it. The next one is working without the decision maker or signatory. And that's the same kind of thing I was explaining. Like you're working one away or two away. It's really hard to do. Anybody want the easy way that'll help you close your next deal? Yeah, for sure. Okay, so in the past, I've personally closed over 500 international deals. It's probably closer to 1,000, and I've underwritten over 1,500 files in the past 22 years. A lot of people ask me how much you make, how much money do you have? So how I've structured everything is through trust, and I get paid a salary. I have 5 kids. I've been married for over 15 years. We blend in really nicely, really well. I don't have a Maserati or anything crazy, so I just live my life. And that's a lot of the same thing with a lot of people that have these types of funds. And another thing to take note of is that and I might repeat this, there are over 22 million millionaires in the United States alone. And that's not including trusts, nonprofits, businesses. Those are social security numbers that have that in their bank account. 22 million millionaires. That's a lot of folks. And out of those 22 million people, a lot of them, they don't know what to do with their stuff, or they would rather have somebody do it for them. They would hire a realtor to sell their house. They don't want to sell their house on their own. Well, what are they doing with their bars of gold? What are they doing with their antique, $5 million worth of jewelry that's just sitting there? There's so many different types of assets. And this is why it's so important because the banks are starting to crumble and they can't get their cash there anymore. So what are they going to do? They're going to start dipping into their assets. And this is the shift that's happening. That's why this webinar is so important. Anyway, the average Joe, let's say it closes 2 deals per year. And I'm going to go into some hard figures here and show you. The average deal internationally, this is private equity. So if you have a company that's investing into something or wanting to buy sugar and sell it or whatever the flip is, whatever they're trying to make money with, the average deal is 25 million internationally. In North America, it's 45 million. It's almost double. That's a big difference here. Keep that in mind, because if you are in North America doing business here, you're going to reap the benefit of these things. Let's just say do international. You got 2 deals, 25 million per deal. Average commission's about 1%. It's a little shy, maybe 1.5. Sometimes you get more because you get paid on the back end also. Average annual commissions $500,000 off 2 deals. Now, these things do not take the amount of time it takes to build a building. It doesn't take the amount of time for you to start a business. It doesn't take any of that type of thing at all. It's actually very fast and easy. I have closed deals within 5 days. I have collected deals within 7 days. Those deals do happen. And there are also deals like Twitter that takes forever. And then they negotiate and renegotiate and figure out the banking. The Twitter deal didn't close very quickly, did it? A lot of deals can be like that. Some deals can be quick. So it's a little hard to say. That's why the attorneys made me put this on here. They said, hey, you got to make sure I put this on here because it's so random. Yeah, results do vary. If you're a paymaster, you're making 1%. If you're flipping gold, you're making close to 5 to 10%. If you're selling sugar, you can make a little bit more than that. If you're doing project funding, that's 2 points. So, I mean, they're all over the place. However, all of these are huge, all over 6 figures or plus, I should say. There are the 3 secrets we're going to be talking about today. First, how to earn 6-figure profit shares, how to close deals without capital, which is actually really killer. Now, you can help somebody do this. You can do this on your own also. And the next one is how to get a file that performs and avoid all the rest. All right, secret practice number 1, how to earn 6-figure profit shares. So when funds come through, the deal is closed, the monies are coming in, the beneficiary receiver is typically a paymaster or a trust or sometimes a bank or escrow. There's several options. The paymaster is most common. So the paymaster receives all the money. This is the profit on a deal. Normally, there's 3 groups. Okay, so we have group 1, group 2, group 3. You have the sell side, buy side. And about 50% of deals have like an intermediary group or like an attorney firm that's helping out. That'll happen a lot. So where a lot of people fail at this is they try to put all of their names on the pay form, the profit share form, and it's called an IMFPA, an irrevocable master fee payment agreement. So that form, everybody tries to put all their information on there and then send it through international compliance. And a lot of times it fails, like 99% of the time it fails. So how do you get over this? Well, each group has to assign a primary signatory, kind of like if you have a company and you have a person that you assign to a signatory, you have to create a corporate resolution that creates one person that signs on behalf of everyone. Same thing. You're making a miniature corporate resolution. It's not a corporate resolution because they're not a company necessarily, but you're making an organized signatory. So they get that form together. See that form next to each group? They sign it and they assign one person saying, this is the guy that's going to be on the contract on behalf of us. And so there's those forms proving that. They send that to the paymaster saying, paymaster, we can do this. And he's going to say, what's this money for? He needs to know. He can't just be sending money for nothing. There has to be a purpose for it. And he might ask for the contract and the sub fee agreements. And the PI stands for primary intermediary. That's the primary person. And A and B are the 2 primaries for the seller and the buyer. And so now he knows it's kind of like a multi-level marketing in a weird way, because you show how it drip feeds through. And the first one shows that it goes through those buckets, and then the next one pays out the next buckets, and you prepare that for the paymaster. And the paymaster obeys all those rules. And that's his job there. So he checks out everything. Okay, this is the flow of traffic here. We're good to go. And he'll pay this out. The funds will be distributed out to each person. Now, here's a little tip. This is something a little bit extra for you guys. Normally, they'll send this out with an MT103. An MT103 is a single wire transfer, A, B, over. So this guy has to send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, if I counted right. 11. So he's got to send 11 MT103s. What if your weekly payout? What if your payout is weekly? Said that backwards. What if your payout is weekly or even monthly? He's got to do that every single time. Ask for this. Can you do an MT102 instead of an MT103? An MT102 is a multiple transfer. So he can set up all 11 accounts at once and then press the button one time. And this helps remove human error. This thing right here can help you avoid it. This has happened to me. Little tip, because it's just one of those things nobody thinks about. And if there is any human error in there, you get red flagged, you get stopped, slowed down, sometimes frozen. Now, the other thing is that if you're dealing in Europe, they call it a UCP 600 structure. It's a different format. So if they say, I don't know what MT102 is, what about UCP 600? Can you pay out like that? And they say, oh, we can definitely do that. And that's appropriate. That's what you want to do. All beneficiaries have to provide a KYC. They will have to provide proof of life, most likely by the mid of this year or the end of this year. So if they're not willing to take a video of themselves signing something or proving their life outside of their passport, it's a little bit suspicious. Their CIS obviously is just your standard. Normally that's in the KYC. And then a color copy of your passport. Everybody has to provide these, no exceptions. If they're not willing to do that, don't play ball. All right, I'm going to show you how this works out when somebody gets paid. So I just chose $50 million just to make it easy on math. Remember, average in North America is 45 million. And keep in mind, if you're a realtor, there's a lot of realtors that watch these. If you're a realtor and you're like, okay, I am in, let's pretend, Austin, Texas, and the median house range is this. And if I sell this many houses, I should get this. The same math applies for this market. However, our median is 45 million. That's an easier way for you to digest that information. Just consider that. It's pretty huge. So I just kind of structured this just to give you an example. In this example, the seller is selling something, the buyer's buying something, and he used an intermediary group to help him out. And so they split that commission 50-50. Normally, there's 2 points that are set aside for profit. Anything above that, you have to structure for profit project funding, and that's a different thing. So try to stay within your line. So in this example, I'm also showing you the paymaster. So the paymaster also is a business model that can be adopted here, where you're not doing anything other than when they're ready for you to perform, the money is done. So honestly, the easiest job is the paymaster. You have no brain damage, and all you have to do is vet out the file, receive the funds, and then split it out. It's very simple, and they're not figuring out anything. All they're doing is the money part. Now, the paymaster normally gets 1%. If it's really big, they'll cut down a little bit and give you a break. Sell side's 1%, buy side and intermediary side both split a half. Now, off of this, paymaster would receive 500,000, seller side 500, buyer side 250,000, and intermediary side 250,000. And those would be the commission splits. Now, there are times, probably 1/3 of my deals, where there's no groups, there's just 3 people. And obviously, you don't have to split that up as much. And that's way, way better. But you can get an idea here off of an average. If you did work with a group and it did structure out like this, the profit shares are pretty huge and they're very, very rewarding. All right, secret practice number 2, close deals without capital. This is a big one. A lot of people message, oh, is this real? Are you trying to hook me? It's like, no, not at all. This is a legit thing. A lot of the banks do this because they don't just have the cash just to send and receive. They use it off of their credit arbitrage. So I'm showing the same tricks that private companies and institutions use. So you have a buyer, and let's say the seller in this example is gas. So I'd like to have proof of product, please. So he sends over like what I'd like it to look like. This is what I need to know. And can you send it to me through the bank? And if he says yes, the bank sends it to my bank or the buyer's bank in an MT608. Everybody knows MT799, MT760. If you don't, you need to know. It's still going to be around for a long time. Everyone's talking about the cryptocurrency thing happening. That's not going to roll out for a little while longer. They're having some serious problems with it. You can read all about it. So they're going to slow walk it. So this is still going to be a function for quite a while. So an MT608 is a statement of commodity account. It's proof of commodity, or it's communicated as some type of commodity. And there's a couple others that could be used like this too. So their bank sends over to the buyer's bank an MT608. Buyer says, yeah, this works great. And what he does with this is that he takes it to his bank and says, bank, I have proof of commodity. Here's my structure. Will you give me a drawdown to get this done? They'll create a credit line, not cash, a line of credit, because all of them are kind of broke right now, a line of credit, or they'll base it off of his cash and create it off of his line if he has a private investor that has money, or I found it somewhere else. But in this example, he's using it for an arbitrage with no money. So he takes this, He draws down off of the 608, and then the bank sends an MT760 to perform everything moving forward. And you use the MT608 as as leverage, as a credit, basically, as an accountability for it. So it's a really easy way to do this. Now, gold is probably the best one to do this with, because how easy is it to prove gold? How many people have spent days or months trying to close a gold deal? And that can be pretty tough to do internationally. So having them send an MT608 is proof of gold, and it's done through banker to banker. There's no PDFs that are sent forever online. It's very safe and secure, and it can be arbitraged, used as collateral. That's the word I was trying to remember. You can use the MT608 as collateral to get the cash to move it forward. All right, that's that one. Here's another one right here. Here's another example, but it's backwards. So in this example, we got to have a buyer and the seller, and he has the verbiage of the contract, and everybody's like, oh, we need to know the verbiage of the MT760, or we need to know the verbiage of the agreement, or whatever. The institutions, these can be private banks, they can be public banks, whatever it is, they will make sure that it's right, because they get money out of this too. So they want to make sure that they're doing their job as well. So they will play ball and make nice of everything. So they will send a guarantee standby letter of credit that goes over to the seller's bank. Now, let's say that you have a gold seller that's broke. Has anybody dealt with the owner of a mine that doesn't have any money? That happens a lot. Those guys work really hard. It is very expensive to do what they do, and it's not easy for them to draw down credit. So a lot of them have put in a lot of their own cash to get where they are, and they're tapped, and they're trying to figure it out. So this is how you can help. So you send them the MT760. They say, "Yep, we'll take this MT760. This looks good to us, but we don't have any money. How do I get my gold to you? Who's paying for the shipment? Who's paying for the insurance? Who's paying for those things?" So he's going to go to his bank and he's going to say, "I'd like to confirm this, please." So the bank confirms the SBLC. Now, this is a really important trick. Can I confirm your MT760? Can I confirm it? And what that means is that the buyer is allowing the seller's bank to confirm it, which means kind of lock it down. So that way they know it's not going anywhere and they're in control. They say, yeah, we'll do that deal. And a lot of times they will, as long as the sending bank merits it. So they'll draw down some cash and they'll say, well, what do you need? Well, I need $1.2 million for all of these things. They'll list it and they'll say, okay, we'll give you the money for that. And then they can ship the goods to the buyer, and the buyer gets everything, and then the funds are released with no money being spent at all. So if you're working with a mine that's tapped out, and about 80% of them probably are, cool part about this trick, it does not affect their profit shares, and it does not affect their profit and loss at all, because this is a line of credit. It's a credit line they're drawing down. They're not drawing out of their own pocket. They're taking it somewhere else. This is a really big deal, especially for closing a 50 million, 100 million, $200 million deal. Anyways, this one's going to be good. A couple of people, I'm sure I made you a couple million bucks right there. All right. Secret practice number 3, how to get a file that performs. All right. So I'm going to use this example really quickly here. Now, all that you need to do is have a banker to banker confirmation. I'm going to just cut to the chase and tell you what it is. It's a banker to banker confirmation. A lot of people try to vet out the files themselves. It has to go to the attorney, needs to go to compliance. All those things are fine. However, you need to have the banks also confirm each other before they'll do it. And a lot of times people will do a deal, take it to the bank, and then it fails at the bank. Well, why did it fail at the bank? Well, you guys didn't pre-qualify the most important one. So this all starts out with a CIS, a passport, and banker's information. The banker's information needs to be a phone number, an email with the bank's email, can't be Gmail or Yahoo, and a time to call. So you can call it. He'll be available before you between 3 and 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, whatever it is. All right, great. So the buyer takes the seller's CIS, passport, banker's information, says, okay, I'll do business with this guy. And then he has his bank do a banker to banker client confirmation. And they can do this with an MT199 secure email internal system. The seller, let's say he's selling an SBLC or an MTN or something else that's worth $1 billion. the bank, or what if he's monetizing it? Have you ever had an SBLC you're trying to monetize, and then can you monetize this? Have you monetized before? You can send me $250 million off of this. These are questions you have to ask. And the person who can confirm this is the banker, because the banker will send over the profile and say, look, this is how much cash they have. This is how much in trade they've done. They issue out these things historically. They've done these things. And the banker says all of this to the other banker so they confirm with each other. Well, if you did this first and you got these guys to say yes, then yes, it's way easy for everybody else to go, okay, great. So what's the path? And then the bank say, this is what we need you to do. A lot of people do this backwards. So many people do this backwards, and it fails on them a lot. This is a secret practice that all of you guys should adopt. All right. So these, I don't know, are the best case studies, but average instrument increased over 40 million. It's at 45 now. ICC claim that there's a serious lack of help, and that is with people structuring these deals and putting them together. There's a lot of people that have funds and have the know-how and understand a little bit. There's been a pandemic and war and all these crazy things happening all over the place. It broke a lot of trade routes that were in place for decades, for a long time. So they made the sale and then they set it and left it. Well, now they can't call Dave because Dave's gone. Dave put the deal together. So who are they calling to put these deals together? Finding another a supplier, finding another whatever. Think about, and I'm picking on Musk a lot today, it sounds like, but Musk had a hard time getting his own minerals for his stuff. I mean, the richest man in the world, or whatever, maybe in the United States, he was having a hard time getting minerals for or metals for his business. And a lot of that has to do with somebody communicating, going somewhere, or just getting it done. He can't do that stuff himself. He was having a hard time finding help himself. And just consider that. That's a big deal. And the demand is increasing with the population rising, right? So a lot of the public companies, they're tapped out, they're done, they're going to be faulting, all that type of thing. And there's massive amounts of people. Remember, 22 million people in the United States alone, just in the United States. And I think China has more billionaires. It's kind of a mute point, but if China has that, I'm sure other countries have that too. So there are a massive amount of people that have their own funds, and they're saying, I don't need HSBC. I don't need to get a loan from Wells. I have $10 million. What can we do with this? And that's happening. This whole entire recycle has happened again. So you had the Great Depression and all of that type of thing. You had the Rockefeller and Rothschild. They rebuilt Europe. That was private money that rebuilt Europe. Well, now private money is going to be rebuilding this chaos now again. So the funds are not going to stop. They're just changing the flow. And that's all I'm saying here. So this is why we've done Blue University's online training. We teach how to monetize bank instruments and assets and all sorts of other things, no matter what it is. And anybody wants disposable income, I always advise, if somebody is new to this, to add it to your tool belt, and don't quit your daytime job and get one of these done first. Because just like in real estate, how long is it going to take you to sell a house? And is that house even going to be worth as much a commission when you do sell it? And those are some questions you have just in real estate. Similar situation. And so you want to be able to give yourself time to close the deal. And it's really good to have these tools available, because if you are in a place like real estate, there's a lot of investors in real estate. Everybody understands real estate. Everybody has a portfolio in real estate. So if they have a portfolio in real estate, they surely have a portfolio somewhere else. Then the past hour, has it been an hour? Okay. Well, in the past hour, would you agree it's been time well spent so far? And I obviously can't cover everything, even if I had an entire day. That's why we have all these things here. So we did put this special offer together so you can have everything you need to know. And if you act fast, we do have a special deal. Like I was saying, we're doing this soft opening type of thing, and we're pushing that out there. All old habits can die hard, and changing things can be weird, but I think you'll be thrilled. And my marketing team made me put this in there. They said it was too dark. You need to make some color. So I think you'll be thrilled, a lot like this guy and his dog. All right. So here's what you're going to get. Monetizing Bank Instruments 101. It's the entire course. And what that does is going to show you how to monetize all of the popular bank instruments that everybody uses to transact any of these deals. Surety bonds, SBLCs, bank drafts, insurance wraps, gold certificates, SKRs, bank guarantees, MTNs, and there's others that are in there too, by the way. They're not added on this list. These are like a title to a house. Okay, so you own a house, you get a title, you take the title to the bank, and the bank will give you money. They'll give you a mortgage, right? So these are different words for the word title. So a surety bond is a title to and then it's a different format. An SBLC is a title to money. A bank draft is a title to money. Insurance wrap is a title to debt. Gold certificate is a title to gold. An SKR is a title to a property, basically. So they're all the same thing. So I hope these words don't intimidate you at all. They are all very similar. They all have their little nuances, of course. But if you understand them well, you can navigate through anything because you take the asset, create the title, and then either do the project funding, private trade, or whatever it is. And then, oh yeah, proof of funds. I knew there's more on here. And then proof of products, like I was showing you before, how you can arbitrage those. Those go into a little bit greater detail. All of these courses show you what they are, history, real life examples, step-by-step processes, and also shows you 4 ways to monetize them. One of those ways includes selling. So if you have somebody that says, hey, I have a bank draft, I just want to sell it for 10% over. I have a SKR, I just want to sell the gold. Yeah, of course, you want to be a part of a $50 million sale. Um, those are really easy. So, and then collateralizing and all the others. So there's 4 options that are available there. General documents that are needed. Each place is a little bit different, countries, things like that. So general documents and what that looks like and who provides them. So literally everything you need to know. And you could just take this and consult people. And I've been actually rewarded really nicely just for consultations. But all these are about a little over $9,000. But there's a little bit more. We have 3 bonuses we're going to add for this. But before I show you those 3 bonuses, and by the way, I'm going to still give you that book at the end. I'm not forgetting about that. Somebody's like, hey, the book. I'll get you the book. So who this works for, and I'm telling you this because we don't want the wrong people hopping into this type of thing, but individuals that are tasked with project funding, trade professionals, private equity folks, professional brokers, firms, trust, hedge funds, private investment groups, governments, institutional officials, military contracts. We do a lot of government bonds. We work with counties and cities and things like that. They need help because they can't go to the bank. They have to find private sources now. So we had 2 choices. First choice was to offer the information for free. We do have a lot of free stuff that's out there, but it really didn't incentivize us to really structure something that was worth learning. The second option, it required a little bit higher investment from everyone, but in exchange, we're able to put in a lot of great information, process flows, and everything like that. So that's the path we took. Keith Inkeef was actually in the auto industry, and it was really funny because there's a finance manager at the auto industry, and that's almost the same thing that these types of transactions go. But he said this information changed by my way of thinking, and now the sky's the limit. And Ryan Chumek, he did some commodity stuff up in Canada, and he said people are going to crap their pants if they actually ended up doing it. You're talking about making a little millionaire factory, and I agree because if you were to do something like this consistently for 2 or 3 or 4 years, then it's a really nice way for you to be get up on top. So here's everything you're going to get. Here's those courses I just showed you. Okay, and then the 3 bonuses. Here's the first one. First bonus, Secret Guide to DD. And what this does, it shows you how to vet an opportunity in 5 minutes or less. And we put this together because we would get 15, 20 emails in a morning. And how do you go through all of that? There's a lot of information that you get sometimes. And so opening up a file, vetting it out and saying yes, no, and moving on with that, really, really, really important. And so this is beneficial for a lot of people. You can spend a lot of time on nothing, and this will help you avoid that. This is a $697 training value. Bonus number 2, Paymaster's Guide. This is going to show you how to receive large commissions, and it shows different account styles like mutual trust accounts, single trust accounts, IOLTA accounts, Paymaster accounts. Like, what are all these different ones? And if the client likes this but doesn't like that, and this will really help you out. And it also shows you how to get paid with it also, and some mistakes that have been made along the way, which is really helpful. It's better for you to learn from mine than learn on your own. $697 value. Okay, this is what you're going to get, all of this, and then bonus number 1, bonus number 2, and then we did have to kind of tear this out. So the first 50 members get the first bonus, then the next 30 members get the second bonus on here. The total value on this, a little over 11,000. And before I show you the last one, which I think is the best, if If all this did was close one average deal, and let's call it international 25 million, would that be worth it? If it just gave you another income, if you just closed one deal and it was 10% of the average, would that be worth it? Or what if it introduced you to something else great in your industry? Like talking with an investment group that invests in real estate and they say, hey, we have $25 million in gold. What can you do with that? If you knew what to do with that, what would that do for you? And what's an opportunity like this worth? One monetization deal, let's say, 5,000, 10,000, 25,000. How much would you pay to get a commission of 250 grand? So you can see why people pay me 20, 25,000 monthly just to do advisory work, which is another niche also. They will pay you to do 1 hour, 2 hour weekly sessions, and those run right around 20,000 up to 30, $40,000 sometimes. And they'll do that because really great example. A couple weeks ago, client called me. They said, hey, we're going to choose this path instead of this path. I said, hold your horses. You need to do this one. And it saved them a couple $1 million in including with fees and everything like that. And they said, wow, that's amazing. A couple $1 million in savings is a huge deal. Some people try to look for a 20% discount at a store. And so, of course, they pay this much for this kind of information. So some people really do well just with being there as an advisor. They like that role. Anyways, so if you were to do 25% of the international average or even 10, then you'd be producing 50K a year in commission from one file, which is pretty good. So you can see why it's a good deal at 10 grand. So it's 997 for a general public. That's what we're going to push it out for in about 6 months. But because you're seeing this, Blue University, we're offering this for 29.97 today, and which I think is a really great deal. Bonus 3, before you decide, I want to show you this. This is really killer. This is the Swift guide, and the Swift guide shows you every Swift from 100 series all the way down to 900 series. Okay, shows you step by step everything, and it has real life examples from historical transactions that were done with banks. And all this information was shared by Swift directly. We have a license with them. And so it shows, like, if you pause that, you can actually read it and show the actual example of how it worked and happened. And you can actually download the little page where it shows you step by step and everything. This will help you stack different types of Swifts and know which path to take. And this is really, really killer if you want to get a little technical on this. The personal Swift guide login is a $14.97 value. It was a little bit less, but we made it better. And so we really don't, we're not interested in making money this way, but so this is kind of our stuff on this. This bonus is available for the first 20 members only, $29.97 for everything. And let me shoot you guys over the link really quickly. But before I do, now you have two choices. Okay. First option is do nothing. Don't take this offer. Second, dedicate a small investment compared to all its value. And if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, maybe it'll work for somebody else that you know. I know there's a lot of people that are trying to figure things out right now. Mortgage brokers aren't doing great. Realtors aren't doing great. Underwriters aren't doing so great. There's a lot of people that know a lot of great processes that already apply in this one. And so maybe it'll help out somebody else that you know. So the question is it worth gambling a few minutes of your time? Check this out. And even if it does 10% of what it does, it'll pay for itself 10 times over. Other opportunities, like I've been saying, like real estate or loan providers or mortgage brokers, it limits you because if your market is stuck, you're stuck. But with this, you can work with your investors that are interested in anything. If they're interested in oil, are they interested in forestry? Are they interested in water or gems or gold? They're not only interested in real estate, and they're not only interested in money. I can tell you that right now. So being available for them and everything else is going to set you above forever. This is my reminder to get you that link. Hold on just 1 second. So what you're going to get, here's everything here, plus bonus number 3, the Swift guide. This one total, I think, is a little over 12. Yeah, it's 12,861. So these are all individually sold at these prices here. So if we combine them all together, that's what that would be. If you don't sign up immediately, number one, you don't think that you have the ability to make that much, which is silly nonsense. Number two, it's too risky to change professions right now. As I've said a few times, don't change professions. Add this to your portfolio. And number 3 is I just don't understand it. I have 5 kids. I had my 9-year-old go through this, in which she could explain it. I knew that this was ready. So if my 9-year-old could do this, I'm sure that you can do this too. And I'm nothing special. I did start out in concrete, and I'm not good at cold calling people. I mean, I'm not really cold calling right now. I'm just doing a webinar, which is a little different. I don't even really like talking to random rich people. They kind of stress me out. Don't like working 3 hours or more a day. I normally don't. Normally 4 hours is my max. I don't even like spending money, but I can still understand this and make an incredible living doing it. And I think that with all the information that's out there, it merits time and effort for somebody to look into this whole entire thing. So all of this is available for you right now for $29.97 today. Give the link to everyone. That's my cue. And I'm going to give you the book here right now. So I'm going to stop this share just 1 second, and I'm going to put these links in here for you. And if you're on one of the platforms that doesn't have these links, a little box will pop up at the bottom of your screen here any second. All right, I'll go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to stop the share. All right, does anybody have any questions while I'm doing this really quickly? Yes. Yeah, we're planning on having this available maybe for another 2, 3 weeks or so. We're just kind of starting it out slowly, and we're going to be adding way more stuff, like an incredible amount of stuff. So whoever signs up now is just going to get that stuff also later. And we do have other courses and promotions too. We do one-on-one training. If you want one-on-one training or coaching, we do offer that as well. You can feel free to message us and say, "Hey, I'd like to know more about that." Those normally start right around $1,500, and then they can go up depending on how much time that you really need to do it. Okay, so here's the chat here. There is the link right there for the special offer, and here's the link for the book. And this book's pretty awesome, by the way. All right, and there it is, everybody. I really appreciate everybody's time. Thanks so much for being here with me. Feel free to message us if you want to go into more detail. Maybe you have a file that you'd like to talk about or something like that, but really appreciate it. And good luck to all of you. Thanks so much.